This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
All right, Stroz, we're going to have some fun today. We just had a heavy 30 minutes pre-show. Stroz and I always catch up pre-show, you know. I feel bad sometimes, by the way. This is where we're going to start. Because I really enjoy talking to you in pre-show, but, I kind of always... It's funny, because you're very no, let's talk. But also, I know what your day looks like when we're done. Mm-hmm. And I just, feel so bad wasting a half hour of your day sometimes.
It's not a waste. Definitely not a waste. Look, I enjoy the pre-show. The pre-show is so much fun.
I know it's not a waste, but I don't know if I'd call today fun, but it was good. It was a good conversation.
It was heavy.
I am genuinely excited for some Pistons talk we're going to do later on in the day. So much so, I've tried to start this conversation with several other group chats. There's we'll call him a star in the NBA, having a bit of a tense situation with his team. I'm curious if the Pistons should be interested. We'll get into that.
Not Ben Simmons.
No. I know it's not Ben Simmons. I'm anti Ben Simmons, but we're going to get into that. Also, Stroz had an experience at a Waffle House.
I don't know if it was a good one, but I had an experience.
Well, I also, the way I kind of wanted to take this, and I may have shared this story before, but Stroz doesn't think I have.
I don't remember it.
So if I have, I'm sorry, because it would have been 2 months ago, Stroz. So I might be retelling a story 6 episodes later. But we're going to talk about some experiences we've had at restaurants that were experiences. But right off the bat, we got to talk Lions. And you asked me, did the Lions show them their true selves on Saturday? Explain.
So watching that game unfold, as I did at multiple Nashville pubs and bars, as I basically went bar hopping on Sunday afternoon. And by the way, I just want to let you know, Bills fans travel, and they travel deep. And they are probably some of the nicest people you will ever meet. People from Western New York, love you. You're great. Bills fans were incredible in Nashville. But I went bouncing around, basically bar hopping, checking out different locales in Nashville, in a different part of Nashville, and watched the Lions game. And when I tell you there was some disappointment, when I walked into every bar and they all have NFL Game Pass, and I'm like, hey, can you put the Lions on? And they were like, what? And I was like, I know I'm the only Detroit fan here, but can you please put the Lions game on? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they look at you all weird and squirrely. And then you basically watch Jared Goff set himself on fire. You watch the Detroit Lions roll around in this hot mess as they poop all over the field. And it got me to thinking, is this who they really are? Is this incarnation of what the Detroit Lions gave you on Sunday what they really should be and what we should be expecting from them? I think at this point, 6 games in, actually going 5 games in, going into that 6th game, I think our expectations were elevated because of what we got the previous 5 games. Those previous 5 games, they competed. Now, they didn't compete for a whole game. They haven't been able to put that together yet, but they competed for halves. And there were games a game against the Rams where they had a chance to win, a game against Minnesota where we all thought they were going to win, but they didn't. At certain points throughout the season thus far, they have looked like a team that has completely overachieved. And then on Sunday...
At 0-6, by the way.
On Sunday, which sounds horrible, right? On Sunday, this team didn't show up at all. And I think this is more of what their true selves are. I think this is what the expectation probably should be. We've talked numerous times about the talent level being so low on this team. And I think you got a glimpse of what it looks like with this team. Now, yes, the defense probably played its best half-ish of the season, maybe best 3/4 of the season, because the defense kind of kept you in the game early. But that offense failed you at every chance you gave them. And I think that's closer to what they are.
So first of all, you sound like such a broken man. And I don't know if people listening can fully experience it or not, because I see it on your face too. I mean, you've been pretty fiery through 5 weeks. I'd say 3 of the first 5 weeks you had something to yell about. And when you sent me the topic idea, I didn't necessarily think you were going to be fiery, but I maybe misunderstood where you were going, because I thought there was going to be more a place of we were wrong. This team doesn't have the fight in them. This team is just not very good. They're worse than we thought. That's where I thought you were coming from.
Well, because that's kind of where I'm at with it. This team is worse than we thought. After 5 weeks, this 6th week, I think, showed us what they really are, what they truly are.
I don't know that I agree with you.
Okay.
I kind of think this is how bad I thought they were all along.
Okay.
Jared Goff is a terrible quarterback throwing terrible wide receivers with a banged up offensive line.
I think he has underwhelmed. I thought he was going to be bad. I didn't think he was going to be this bad. Last week, you referred to him as quarterback 32. At this moment in time, I think he's probably closer to quarterback 34.
Well, okay,
there might be two backups in the league that are better than him.
I'm going to play a little bit of Goff defense here. Goff is terrible. When he threw the ball out of bounds on a 4th down attempt, that was some of the cringiest shit I've ever seen out of a quarterback. I think somebody threw a left-handed interception one time. That was probably worse. Mahomes, I know, is throwing left-handed completions. But, let's be clear here. He's throwing to literal nobodies. Mm-hmm. The 0-16 Lions roster might have had 3 better wide receivers than anybody on this receiving core. So Jared Goff is not a backup quarterback. I do think he is a very, very low-end starting quarterback. But, I always knew that this offense was bad. This whole time, it's been, it's been a defense that gets beat by big chunk plays, but for the most part, holds their ground outside of the big explosive plays. And it's been an offense that relies on DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, to be honest with you. And they kept that game close. Maybe it's because I really respect the Bengals. I think the Bengals offense, even today, could be top 5, might be pushing it, but just outside 6, 7, 8. I think the Bengals have one of the better offenses in the league, and you held them to 10 through the half. I just can't. I can't say this game was that different than anything we've seen so far. I know that the score ended up saying that because the offense, it couldn't catch a break.
Point where they flashed a graphic where this offense had only accounted for 60 yards. And I was like, holy crap, we are 3 quarters into this game, and you've amassed 60 yards. There was one play that the Bengals had that amassed more than that. I was just shocked.
I've watched every single game. I think maybe exception of the Packers game, which I didn't watch very closely. I've watched every single game, enjoying the battle between Jared Goff on his trek to 100 yards in halftime, because it is always such a tight battle. This man struggles so hard to hit 100 passing yards before the half. I don't know if he's done it twice this year.
It's fairly certain climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. Good luck.
Dude, it's incredible. It is such an entertaining watch. And for the record, I'm actively rooting against him. I am rooting for him to not get there. I'm rooting for like Swift and Williams to make great plays. I am rooting for Hawkinson to make good plays, but I'm very much enjoying watching Jared Goff have 32 passing yards as he leads a 2-minute drive before the half.
That's so funny. Watching that game, the Bengals are a team that if you're a Detroit Lions fan, you want your team to look like, you would hope next year, but within 2 years, you want your team to look like what the Bengals got going on. I think the Bengals are such a solid up-and-coming team. They've got pieces all over the place. And you're hoping as a Lions fan that that's what you have. And I think this week, when you take on the Rams, I think this week is what you hope your team looks like the midst of Dan Campbell.
I don't mean to do this to you because that was a great transition. And I know you want to get into the Rams game a little bit, so I'm sorry to do this. I have to ask an important question.
No, ask.
There are reports that Watson could soon be heading to Miami with Tua heading to Washington, as a big smile comes across your face.
So I'm curious. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to kind of, before we transitioned out of this and moved into our second segment, I wanted to talk to you about this.
Okay.
So since we're here, let's just kind of talk about it. What is, and I'm more curious what the feedback is in Houston. What is everybody talking about in Houston? What's on sports talk? What's going on?
People are excited about the potential of it actually happening. I think there's been this 7-8 months, whatever it's been, of we've known this was coming. Mm-hmm. And I think people are excited to finalize it. I think people want, which by the way, I'm still a little skeptical. John McClain has great sources. He is, nobody's Adam Schefter or Shams or Woj on a local level, but John McClain is very, very good for a local beat writer. So when he says something, you do take it seriously. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'm not going to believe it entirely till I see it. But anyways, I think the thought is people are excited at the idea of getting it done and figuring out, one, what did you get in return? And two, just having that conversation be done.
Yeah.
That's really all I'd say.
So it sounds like it's going to be a 3-team deal, and it sounds like Washington's that third team.
Right, with Tua heading there. And I'm curious a couple angles. Like, one is that because I'm interested in it. I don't think I'd have any interest in the price tag. But you were livid the Lions didn't take Tua over Okudah. So I'm curious, like, okay, still, like, would you be all in on him then?
So here's the thing. I might be proven wrong in the long run, right? Like, it looks like Justin Herbert is the guy, right? Obviously, Justin Herbert.
That's non-negotiable.
He was the guy you should have took. I was all in on Tua.
Shoot, I'll say that. Fuck, if you were going to use hindsight. Yeah, I absolutely. If you could have told me what Justin Herbert was going to be,
right,
I'd absolutely taken him.
I still think Tua will be better than Okudah every day of the week. He might be an absolute bust. I don't know.
Or his Achilles.
But no, if the price tag makes sense, I'm all in. Here's the thing: you're the Detroit Lions. You've got Jared Goff as your quarterback. You could possibly go out. And I think for Detroit fans right now, especially after watching this game where they laid an absolute dud against the Bengals. You're frustrated because you don't see the future. You don't necessarily see that guy that you can latch onto. You don't have that piece yet. And that piece is supposed to come. It was supposed to come probably with this draft. But you look at the quarterback class and it has tanked worse than any of those weird stocks that you read about on Reddit. So it has absolutely.
I've made some money on Reddit stock, but I made $100 on GM.
I love you.
I still have Clove. I might be down $100, but we're going to the moon, baby.
We're going to the moon. So he could be that piece that the fans could kind of gravitate towards and something for you to latch onto. Now, again, he might be a total bust. He might flame out. But if the price is right, I'm all in trying to cut in line and get in front of Washington.
What's the price that's right for you?
So I'm willing to give a second-round pick, and I don't know if that'll get the deal done. But
I wouldn't even consider more than a second.
You wouldn't. So the Rams pick in the first round.
Get the fuck out of here. He's had an injury. He's had trouble staying healthy. He's not looked great when he's on the field. No, fuck that. Here's my problem. I think he's worth a second, but I don't even know that he's worth 201, and that's what I think you're going to have. Like if they could give a mid-second, I'm game, but I don't know that he's worth pick 33. I would not be mad. First of all, it's not happening. Like I think we know it's not happening.
I don't think it's happening. But
just like in the hypothetical world, I would not have been mad at trading a second. I could probably swallow trading the Rams pick, but I would be very skeptical giving a pick in that range because I don't believe in Tua. I mean, I think he's an experiment worth taking a shot on. I'd give a third in a heartbeat. I think the problem is where I personally place Tua's value is like the mid to late second, and you're not going to have one of those.
It'll be interesting. Like I feel like the Detroit Lions should be involved in this conversation.
They certainly should have explored it for sure.
And it, by all accounts, and again, we don't know everything, but it doesn't even sound like they're involved.
I would probably not say that. That's fair to say. We don't know that yet. Now, here I'll say this. If this all does get finalized and Tua goes to Washington for a 5th-round pick, it is then fair to criticize the Lions for not offering more. But until we know what we're
doing a whole show where we beat up the Lions 60 minutes straight.
And I'll be on your side. I'll be on your side. I would say anything lower than a third, I will be entirely on your side. A third, we'll see if when the time comes, if it comes.
I feel like he's a risk. Like he's a risk worth taking.
Sure, I agree with that, but I don't think it's fair to say that we don't think the Lions are involved. No one's reporting on what teams are involved. All I have read, and I've read a lot, is that Washington is the team involved in the discussion right now. That doesn't mean the Lions haven't gone, hey, what about us?
Would you take Tyler Heineke over Jared Goff?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
really?
Yes, from the standpoint, he's more of an unknown. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're asking in the current situation, would I trade him straight up? Yes, because I know Jared Goff sucks. But if you're asking from the standpoint of like, do I think if I needed to win one game, who would I rather have? That answer is Jared Goff.
I don't know. Like I like Taylor Heineke. I don't know if he'll be anything more than a career backup. He'd be like I think comparing him to like a Ryan Fitzpatrick's a little bit unfair because Ryan Fitzpatrick had some solid years, but I always felt like Ryan Fitzpatrick was better coming off the bench and giving you like 4 or 5 or 6 game stretches. I wonder if Heineke's going to be more of that ilk, you know?
I saw somebody suggest Jacob Eason, who was just released by the Colts. which would be an interesting one. I'm certainly here for experimental quarterback options. I don't think there's any shot it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I would be interested in that. Shoot, well, I'll take that back. I was going to say if the Texans trade for Tua, but we pretty much know that's not happening. I'll say, shoot, I'd give Davis Mills a try, but I think he's pretty clearly not going anywhere this year.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get this back on track here. And as I was saying before, you're hoping, as the Lions, like whether it's with Tua, whether it's with Goff, whatever it may be, you're hoping in, 3, 4, 5 years that your team looks like the LA Rams. And I think it's totally possible. So I was talking with Alyssa while the Lions game was going on. And
you just went from a defeated man. Your face is incredible. You looked like you got home and didn't have any food in the fridge. Like you were going hungry tonight. And now you just look like so happy.
Because I'm here for this. I'm here for all of this. And I hope this happens. I hope the Lions get embarrassed this weekend. And I love the Lions. I hate Matt Stafford. But I hope he embarrasses them so bad.
How amazing would it be if they were up 50 at halftime? He sat the fourth quarter against the Giants, which I thought was fuck, man. How often do starting quarterbacks come out in NFL games? How incredible would it be if they're up 50-0 and they're just yeah, you could chill, staff. You don't got to play the second half.
Dude, how great would it be if they were up 50-0 and they were go ahead, go in there in the fourth quarter, and he's still winging touchdowns on you. I told her he could put up 6 this weekend. I'm estimating 6 touchdowns from Matt Stafford this weekend. I hope he kills them. I hope he just obliterates them.
So I'm going to be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad is unaware that I've purchased a Matthew Stafford Rams jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a little, not upset, but he's a little disappointed that I'm going to be rooting for the Rams because, it's a very much like a bonding trip, and he will be rooting for the Lions. So he's kind of sad that I'll be rooting for the Rams. And I'm definitely going to break out this Rams jersey while I'm there.
I would hope so. I'd hope you wear it to the game.
Well, I think the answer is you wear the Stafford Lions jersey to the game, right?
No, you wear the Stafford Rams jersey to the game.
Why?
I think you can wear the Stafford Lions jersey around town, but when you're at the game, you're going to be rooting for the Rams, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so wear that one.
I was thinking I was going to get a Rams hat and wear the Rams hat with the Lions jersey.
I think that looks weird. I think you get your Rams hat with your Rams.
Have you met me?
Yes. I think we should pose this question on Twitter. What does B wear with his Rams hat? His Lions jersey or his Rams?
I will ask the question which jersey I should wear to the game. That's a good idea. The reason I think I want to wear the Stafford Lions jersey is because I think it invites conversation. I don't know that the Rams jersey does that. The Rams jersey is just you're a regular Rams fan.
Yeah, I mean that's accurate.
But I think what I want to do, because he's getting in before me, I think I want to show up at the hotel with the Stafford Rams jersey on because he doesn't even know I own one.
Dude, can I tell you how weird how weird it is just seeing Stafford Rams jerseys at work? Basically Fridays, people walk around in their Stafford Rams jerseys, and I'm just why?
It is kind of wild. I'm gonna go get it. I show it off. I don't care. I know they can't see it on the podcast. I want to show you.
You go get it for me. I think it's absolutely bonkers though when people are out there wearing their Rams gear and rooting for Stafford, and it's you're in Detroit. What are you doing? You don't why are you wearing that?
Why are you anti-Rams Stafford jersey, man?
Did you get the white one? Oh, that is kind of sweet. I like that.
So I will say it's not. I think I regret my decision. Unfortunately, I don't think they have any that I love. So they have the gray, they have the blue, and then they have a fucking tannish yellowish white.
It's so gross. You have the white, or do you have that weird off-white?
I have that weird off-white. And what I would say, so I like the off-white from distance.
Mm-hmm.
When I have it hanging up and I look at it from afar, I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. But from close, it looks like somebody peed on your white shirt.
It is so when I watch they were playing on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago, and I was watching it, and I was like, those jerseys are great and hideous all at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know how to feel about them.
Far. I like them so much from far, but when you pull it up close, the thing is, I don't love either of the other options either.
The blue, you don't like that blue?
I think blue's the route I would have gone looking back. I think I like the color. And this is such bad audio content, but I think I like the color of the number being that bright blue.
Yeah. It definitely pops.
We'll move on from that. I don't want anyone to have to listen to us talk about the colors of a jersey you can't see.
Real quick, before we transition, how many touchdowns does Stafford throw this week?
I think 6 is a good number.
6?
I think 6 is a good number. My only concern would be that Darrell Henderson is really good. And I'm curious because like Stafford didn't leave on bad terms. So I don't know that McVay is going to be like, go out and torch him, you know?
I feel like McVay deep down hates Jared Goff, and he's like anything to cause more pain.
Let's get Goff pulled there down so much. Yeah, we'll move on. I'm gonna go with your 6. So tell me about your Waffle House experience.
So we were driving back from Nashville, and we stopped off just north of Elizabethtown, Kentucky. This is like the smallest little podunk town you've ever seen. Basically, it's just kind of like a pit stop off of the freeway.
How many Confederate flags did you see? I changed how small the city is.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't really paying attention for the Confederate flags.
Yeah, it was a joke that like went way too far.
We ended up pulling into. We were trying to figure out where to eat because we were both really hungry. And when I was a kid, Shoney's was like my grandma's favorite spot, and we went to Florida. And we basically ate there every day for the week that we were in Florida. So I was like, we got Shoney's over here, which is kind of legit, and then there's Waffle House. Neither one of us have ever been to a Waffle House. And Alyssa was like, well, we need the experience. And I was like, facts. So let's go to Waffle House. Went to Waffle House. I do not understand why people love the Waffle House as much as they love the Waffle House.
Well,
what I will tell you that is great about the Waffle House is the staff, because they are so freaking unique. The food is like lower end Denny's on a very limited menu. And the waffles aren't even that good. It's more like pancake batter that they use to make waffles with. And they're just not that good. I ate my waffle and I was like, this is not great. But the staff and the clientele, the people who go there to eat, bro, you could have sat there for probably 3 hours eating your garbage scrambled eggs and eating your awful waffles and just enjoyed your time. Our waitress, I think, was ripping lines in the bathroom because she was so hyped. They would play music on the jukebox, and she'd start rapping, and she'd start singing. She was an older white lady, straight up from Kentucky. I think she probably had like 6 teeth. They were great. And she was into everything, and she moved a mile a minute. She was so like gammed out of her mind. I swear to God, she was just doing coke off the toilet seat in the bathroom. And everybody else, they seemed like the nicest, sweetest, like down south. Hey, honey, how you doing? Can I get you lemonade? No, I just want coffee. Coffee's great. You want some cream? You want some sugar? No, I'm cool. Just black.
Maybe this is a me problem. Like, people think that that's so nice and sweet. It makes me angry.
Why?
Because it's fake as fuck, man. Stop bullshitting me. You're an asshole. You know it. No, people who are over the top, like that Southern, I don't know. Maybe I'm scarred from my one experience. Like, the person I know who behaves like that, I think is very fucking fake. So maybe I just like have taken her and associated her to everybody who is just like that. Yeah, else. that Southern nice, the Southern hospitality that you know people are aware of. I don't know. I don't like it.
Dude, I went to go pay for my bill. I ended up getting sucked into a conversation with this dude who was like 65. And he's been there since basically 8 o'clock drinking coffee. It was like noon, 12:30. And he just wanted to have this conversation with me about debit cards. And the lady who was cashing me out was so nice. And she just kept adding like actual things to the conversation. And there was a point where I was like, sorry, guys, I have to go. Like, I've got to get back on the road. They were the nicest, weirdest people you've ever met in your entire life. But the food is absolute shit. It is awful. Have you ever ate at a Waffle House?
So I've never eaten at a Waffle House. And I like physically cringed when you said your awful eggs. Because I like breakfast is so easy to make that like eating, like I'm just not going to eat poor quality eggs. If your eggs are low quality, what the fuck are you doing wrong?
Right.
I can make like 4 meals and eggs are one of them and they're good. I can make good ass eggs. Just let me into your kitchen and I'll enjoy my own food. Like
it was the food was brutal, man. It was not great, but the experience was probably second to none. It was just crazy. Mess with your mind.
The story I wanted to tell, because I thought you were saying they were super nice, not like weird.
No, they're all weird there, bro.
I don't necessarily have a
Nice,
weird experience. But the last time I was in Michigan, I went to a Red Robin. You still don't. I feel bad telling the story. I swear to God, I told the story.
I don't remember the story at all.
Well, the last time I was in Michigan, I went to a Red Robin with a friend.
Okay.
And it's been a long time since I've been. What was that?
Was it a girl or a guy?
Yes, it was a girl.
Nice.
It doesn't matter.
How did that?
We went back to her place where her husband and children live.
Oh, darn.
So it's been a while since
I got to do it to you.
It's been a while since I've been to Red Robin, but I remembered I loved dipping their fries in something. And so I was thinking honey mustard at first, but I was like, maybe it was ranch. So I asked for a side of honey mustard, and then I said, I think I asked for ranch. I was like, no, wait, I think it's honey mustard. And the guy goes, I'll bring you both. Okay, cool. I can figure out which one it is. This fucking dude brought me a platter with ranch, honey mustard, their campfire sauce, which is what they serve with their onion rings, cheese, just fucking everything, dude.
Like all their sauces, he brought them to the table.
Yes. And I think this is maybe just the fat guy in me, but having a sampler platter of sauces is like a dream come true. Like I do. So I found out it is the honey mustard. I love their fries with the honey mustard, but I used all 4 of those sauces.
I was saying, did you like the campfire sauce? I think it's pretty good with the onion rings.
Oh, yeah, I love the campfire stuff with the onion rings. It is very good with the fries, too. Honestly, this man kind of ruined my Red Robin's experiences moving forward because I want the fucking platter. And I kind of suspect if you ask for a platter, they'd probably charge you for it. If you're like, can I just get, every sauce you have? And it was great, man. When I was in 9th grade, I remember the Super Bowl. It was the second Giants Super Bowl, which was senior year of high school, not freshman year. So that year, I had a friend show up to my Super Bowl party late, and he brought 100 McDonald's chicken nuggets. I think they were running some sort of a deal, like a buy 20, get 20.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So he might have brought 120. I don't know. And this man brought 15 of every sauce. And again, heaven, man. The Pistons used to serve a giant pretzel that came in a pizza box with 3 dipping sauces. I just want you to give me all the dipping sauces and all the things to dip in them. And I fell in love with that, man. I was prepared to have his children.
I think the bigger question coming out of all of this, what is your McDonald's sauce for your chicken nuggets? You can't say all of them. You have to pick one.
Honey mustard is my favorite sauce for chicken. Well, hold on. I'll take a step back there. Honey mustard is my favorite sauce that's not unique to a place. I do love Cane's sauce, which you would not be familiar with. I also love Chick-fil-A sauce. I think Chick-fil-A sauce is my favorite.
What is Cane sauce?
It is what Raising Cane's has. It's a fast food place down here. I think Raising Cane's has the best fast food chicken I've ever had.
Is it like a barbecue sauce or like a hot sauce?
It's definitely not a barbecue sauce. It's like a smoky ranch, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's
not just ranch. It's a little sweeter. I don't know. It's good. I know that ranch is the main. There's it's a mix of 2 or 3 main ingredients, and I don't know what
Chipotle ranch.
Actually, you're gonna judge me here. I actually think 2 of the main ingredients are ketchup and ranch.
They mix them?
Yes, but I think that I know there's more involved. It's not just that.
Okay.
And it's also not an even ratio. There's definitely more ranch than ketchup.
Interesting.
I'll have to look it up. It's whatever it is. It's really good.
I'm a sweet and sour guy at McDonald's. I haven't ate McDonald's in forever, but I love the sweet and sour.
Sweet and sour is good, but if I'm getting sweet and sour, I'd just rather get Chinese food.
Right.
Go to McDonald's. I want to tell one more story kind of in this realm before we move on to some Pistons talk. More in the realm of the story you just told. So I grew up in a family that never went to family-owned restaurants. I was very much a chain guy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really start experiencing small restaurants until the girl I started dating in high school, who I dated for 6 years. Well, one time we were coming back from a vacation we took, and we were getting ready to eat, and we stopped in, what was the name of the city? God, there's a really small college there. It begins with an A. God, I can't remember. It's a small city in Michigan.
Albion?
Albion. Yep, that was it. We stopped in Albion, which is a small city.
Very small.
And we couldn't find anywhere to eat. And again, with her, I started going to more family-owned places and smaller places. And we happened to come across a diner. Sounded good. Okay, cool, whatever. Quite the experience. I wasn't super comfortable, but so you walk in and there's a giant circular table. It's just one table. Every single seat's connected. And the spacing in between your seat and the wall is like just enough for someone to walk behind you. So there's like somebody in the middle and there's like of this circle table and there's people around the outside like serving you. And their menu is very small. And this girl was very picky. She didn't like anything on the menu. And I was perfectly comfortable leaving. I didn't honestly feel the most comfortable in the first place sitting down there, but whatever, we're going to do it. We stand up to leave and they call us out. The waitress goes, "Oh, nothing on the menu looks good enough for you?" And I was like, "Oh, sorry. God, I feel like embarrassed to say this, but I'm fairly certain I called her. Like I blamed my girlfriend at the time. I'm pretty sure I said, "Oh, like nothing looks good to her." I don't remember exactly how it went down. I just remember it was very awkward, and I like tried to talk to the lady at first, and then she said something like she's like, "I see how it is." And then like the people who were sitting down at the tables were also like, "There's all the food's here, great. You can't go wrong." And like, at that point, I was just like, "Let's just get the fuck out of here. Like, we don't owe it to these people to explain why we don't want to pay for their food." Like, very uncomfortable experience.
That is very uncomfortable.
And yeah,
I have a story about on our way back, how we ended up basically at the Waffle House. But go on.
Well, I guess what I was going to say is like I was in this weird place of like feeling really bad because I felt uncomfortable and I have a lot more tolerance for like uncomfortable interactions with people than she did. So I felt like horrible for her, but also a sense of like I knew we shouldn't fucking go in there. It like scarred me. I don't think I'll ever go into like a small town diner again.
That is so crazy that they would do that. So we ended up before we ended up at the Waffle House.
Shoot us on the way out. It wasn't that aggressive, but it was very like, let's just get the fuck out of here.
Right. We ended up at this little small, it was called Bubs, Bubs, Bubs Diner. And it was one of those joints that only has limited hours. Basically, it opens up at like 6 and it closes at like 2. And what they've got is what they've got, and that's all that they have. And you're like, all right, cool. So we ended up here because the rating on Google was great. It was like 4.9. We're like, all right, this can't be bad. We walk in there and we sit down. I ordered 2 coffees for both of us. Alyssa went to the bathroom, ordered 2 coffees, 2 waters. And the lady's like, "Hey, just so you know," because remember, it was around noon around this time. She's like, "We stopped serving breakfast at 11 and we both wanted breakfast." She's like, "So all we have is our lunch menu." And I said, "Oh, okay." And she was like, is that going to be a problem?" And I was like, "I don't know. Can you give me a sec?" She was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." So Alyssa comes back from the bathroom. Mind you, I had to piss really bad too. And the lady hadn't brought any waters or any coffees or anything yet. So we're sitting there having a conversation about it. I was like, so they don't serve breakfast anymore. Like they stopped at 11. It's already 12. So I was like, what do you want to do? And she's like, I really want breakfast. And I was like, okay, cool. So we'll just go. So lady ends up on our way out the door. The lady's like, she kind of looked at me. And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, we're just gonna kind of go. And she was like on her way out, she like ran up to us and she kind of stopped. She's like, just so you know, like again, super Southern, just so you know, we only got one cook and we basically stop serving breakfast at about 11, sometimes 10:30 if we run out of stuff. So if you get here about 10, you'll be good. And I was like, thanks. You won't ever see us ever again. So like completely different than what you had going on, but like odd, weird diner.
We also, when we were in New York, we're looking for a place to eat and we couldn't find anywhere that sounded interesting to her. Interesting is the wrong way to put it. She was just picky. And there's a lot of like fancy food in New York. And we were struggling to find a place that wasn't fancy. And we finally thought we found one and we got in and she looked at the menu and wasn't interested. And we walked out of that one and I knocked over my water while walking out. So that was great.
Did you just keep walking? Were you like, oh, shoot, and try cleaning it up?
No, I tried to stop and I didn't necessarily try to clean it up. I just tried to like minimize the damage, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about that before. That day was something. Like,
yeah, you did talk about that day.
Because that was like the one time that I recall that she was like genuinely mean to me. You could probably vouch for this after our pre-show conversation. I do not handle people being mean to me very well. I think I'm a very nice person and I expect that in return. So most of our relationship, not to say we never had any issues, but like we weren't mean to each other. She was mean to me that day, and it was because we didn't have food till like 3 p.m.
She got hangry.
Yeah, we were walking all over the place. But yeah, that day was an experience.
That's funny.
So basketball.
Yeah. Pistons season starts
Yeah,
And,
right now we're missing
you know?
the first game, unfortunately. You wouldn't know that. I just had to give it away. But I'll admit, I was a lot less excited once I knew Cade wasn't going to play. I was very excited to watch Cade, and the moment he's back, I will be. But so I don't know how much you've been paying attention to this, but DeAndre Ayton is not getting a max deal from the Suns. And I know that Pistons fans are scarred by the big man. I know you are, Stroz. I'm not here to say they should be all in. By the way, not necessarily being moved yet, but I think it at least raises your antenna, right? Mm-hmm. When you see that he can't come to a deal on an agreement on a max deal with the Suns. And I just look at him and say, age-wise, great fit. You watch what he did in the playoffs. And I got to tell you, man, I think the Pistons should be interested in going after a guy like DeAndre Ayton.
He looked great until he got ran into by that buzzsaw known as the Greek Freak, and Giannis just kind of obliterated him.
God forbid a 22-year-old center struggle against like one of the best players in the league. I don't think DeAndre Ayton can be your number one, but DeAndre Ayton is one of the most dominating post presence. I think he has the potential to be the most dominating post presence we've seen since Dwight Howard's prime.
Ooh, that's some pretty high praise. This is my whole thing.
When I watched him in the playoffs, I found myself going, could he be the start of a shift in the NBA?
Like going back to having the big man center?
I don't think you're ever going to go back to them being dominant, but he was a problem. And I did find myself wondering if teams are going to be able to go without one of those guys on their roster.
Let's talk about what he does well. He's good at rebounding. He's decent at protecting the rim, and he's a presence in the low post.
He's a pretty big time scorer in the paint, and he's an efficient scorer in the paint. That's why, like, I know, Stroz, you among many are scarred of because of Andre
Drummond syndrome is what it is. You have like these flashbacks.
DeAndre Ayton was a 64% shooter from the field last year. I don't know. I'm pulling it up right now. I don't know where Andre Drummond was, but I am confident in saying he was never that in his career. Yeah, Andre Drummond. Okay, so in his first 2 years in the league, he was 60%, 62%. After his first 2 years, he never broke 60%. He is just a more complete player. And while he can't really shoot a three ball, he's got enough range. Like, he is not forced into the paint. If you're not respecting him in the mid range, he can hurt you. I don't know if Ayton is capable of being the second best player on a team, though I won't rule it out. I just think he creates mismatches. The way teams are built in the league today. If your top two players are both shooters and can spread the floor and leave that space in the middle, I think DeAndre Ayton can cause problems for teams that don't have that true big man.
I think his position is being phased out, and I think you can do different things to kind of get that same type of production. You can do it much cheaper. He wants a max deal. I don't think it makes sense for the Pistons to go out and grab a guy like that. I mean, you got a young Cade. You got a couple of other pieces that look like they're all going to come together at just the right time. I don't know if he's the guy that you put a heavy price tag on and you hope he's that final piece. It just, to me, it doesn't seem like that's the direction that the league's going, and that doesn't seem like the direction that this team should be going.
But, like,
that's my problem with it.
Do you think that... I don't mean to suggest it's always cyclical, but like, do you not see any value in going against, like, I think part of what happens is every single team in the league is going smaller. Nobody has a true big man. So if you have a true big man who is also athletic and isn't truly an anchor where he can only stay in the paint, like, I see the value to the fact that other guys don't have players meant to defend him. Andre Drummond was just a big body. You drafted him because when he was entering the league, you needed that big body in the paint. You don't need just a big body anymore. But Ayton isn't just a big body. Here's what he did in the playoffs, man. And again, admittedly, it wasn't quite the same in the finals, but in the first round, 21 points on 90% shooting, 22 points on 85% shooting, 22 points on 73% shooting, 14 points on 75% shooting, and then 8 and 8 in games 5 and 6. But he dominated the first 4 games. Then you look at the second round, 20 on 70%, 15 on 60%, Look at the conference finals, 20 on 70%, 24 on 80%. He is an efficient scorer in the paint. Like, the efficiency is why I look at him and say, I think there's something there. And a big part of this, too, is the age, because he is only 22 years old. So the timeline works really well. And by the way, I do think if you go this route, you are really banking on Cade Cunningham. The reason I'm not all in on DeAndre Ayton is because it's a little early to make this kind of move. I'll tell you what, though. If Cade were to come in and look like a superstar, I might be jumping if the opportunity opened up next year. I think at the very least, it is a situation the Pistons and Pistons fans should be monitoring.
So if you were the GM, if you're Troy Weaver, if you're Troy Weaver, are you signing him to that max deal? Because that's what he wants.
The max deal is not a concern at all. I would give him a max deal tomorrow. The concern is, if it were to be by way of trade, I don't know that you've put enough resources together yet to start pushing your chips in to win.
See, that's my concern too, because like I don't want to necessarily give up on a guy like Sadiq Bey. I think he's a piece. He's part of the future here.
Well, and obviously, I also think
giving up on Cade.
I still think you're going to pick high enough. No. I would view Cade and Ayton as a core part of the future.
Yes.
It would be interesting to know if they would have any interest in Jeremy Grant.
Isn't he on an expiring deal?
He is. And I don't think Ayton's going anywhere this year. They still have restricted free agent rights over Ayton regardless. You know, he may not go anywhere, period. But the Suns owner is cheap.
Jeremy Grant has done a really nice job in a small time here in Detroit, where he's really worked himself into a position to become a bit of a scorer. And I don't know if he's basically become that because it's a bad team, so somebody's got to score, or if he's developed that confidence and he's developed that ability to really be a primetime player on a team that is looking to win a championship. It'd be interesting to see him on the Suns and how he would work with a guy like Chris Paul.
Here's what I'll say about DeAndre Ayton. Be it the Pistons or not, if he ends up on a team that has the stars to be a contender, DeAndre Ayton will play for a contender. I mean, Andre Drummond is only playing for a contender by way of, minimum contracts. That is not the same. I think DeAndre Ayton can be a force to be reckoned with. And it's fair to point out that he's on, a rookie deal right now in Phoenix, so they get to put more around him. You don't know how it would turn out if he was paid a max. I just think that when you watch this guy play, if Ayton was in the league 7 or 8 years ago, it wouldn't be as impressive because there would be guys who could stop him. But who the fuck are you putting on him if you're the Warriors? Wiseman? Yeah, right. Get out of here. Who are you putting on him? That's what we saw. Anthony Davis is a great defender, but that dude can't stay on the court. You think I want him bashing bodies with DeAndre Ayton? I think that Ayton takes advantage of where the league is today. And admittedly, you have to put shooters around him. If you don't have shooters around him, it can't work. But I just don't think it's fair to rule out a big man because of the way Andre Drummond worked out here. I think Ayton fits in today's league.
I don't know. I'm still scarred by Andre Drummond, and I think that position is the way of the dinosaur.
But when you say that, why was Ayton able to be on the
everything,
court?
All the stats that you gave, his efficiency, that's crazy. Those are crazy numbers.
Why was Ayton able to be on the court last year for a NBA championship appearance caliber team? If he's a dinosaur, because Andre Drummond, when he's on the court, you literally sit there and go he is a liability.
Yes.
We cannot leave this guy on the floor. If Ayton is the same because the position is a dinosaur, why aren't we seeing the same thing? Why was he able, and not only able, but essential at times for the Suns?
I think it has to go back to that efficiency, and he's not necessarily a liability on the defensive side of the ball. That being said,
those are the things that make you a dinosaur.
Right. That being said, I think you can get similar production as far as the rebounding goes, the defending goes. Maybe not the efficiency in the paint or the efficiency in and around the rim, but I think you can get the other things, and you can fill in the shooting with somebody else for a much cheaper price. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have a problem with giving that position a max contract. And I get what you're saying, because the timeline, like you said, the timeline works out as far as age goes. His efficiency, absolutely crazy. And what he could bring is nuts, especially if you were to slip him into that center role on this team where you've got a guy like Cade Cunningham. Could you imagine the pick and roll with them? It'd be nuts. You have a guy like Sadiq Bey who can stretch the court and he can shoot and spot up for three. You've got other guys and you have other pieces that could really offset some of the things that he might struggle with, but you also have guys who could really help accentuate his efficiency. So like, I get where you're coming from.
Your point that you can like get those things from other places, what I don't think you can get from other places, and I mean literally anywhere. I think there's very, very few guys in the league who can do this anymore. Is I think he can abuse teams that don't have a true center, and there are a lot of them. There are a lot of teams who are going to roll out there and put a small ball 4 on him. They're going to put they're going to put a Jeremy Grant on him. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen. Who are the Pistons guarding him with?
Luka Garza, maybe?
Did he make the roster? I actually have no idea. Wow. That's actually kind of surprising. I can't imagine he stays there.
Yeah. They offered him a 2-way contract, and they ended up turning it into a 1-way contract. He's on the team.
Wow.
Yeah. He had a really nice preseason.
I did know that, but it's still surprising. I don't think you're getting that from anywhere else. And I also think like one other small aspect to this. And like, you hate to be talking about this early on in the process. You kind of don't get to be super picky about the superstars. And let's be clear here. If you want to contend in the NBA, you will be paying bare minimum 2 max contracts. And so when one of those guys comes along, you have to evaluate, is this the one we take a chance on? And if you could do it, I kind of think Ayton is. Like, it's not perfect. I'm not telling you I think a center is what I would want to be the guy I take a shot on, but I think there's enough there to make it justifiable.
And you're right. At some point, you're going to have to pay 2 max contracts. Like, it's what it is.
Well, but beyond that, you have to go out and get the guys who are available.
Yes. No, exactly. I think it'll be interesting
guy's a Blake
see.
Griffin, and I think that DeAndre Ayton just fits better than that kind of a guy.
No, I get you, and I think you're right. I'll be interested to see what this team looks like at the 25 game mark, and to kind of see what it is that maybe they're lacking, and kind of how Troy Weaver positions himself, because Troy Weaver's a very active general manager. If everything works out and he feels like that's a piece that could really put them over the top, don't be surprised if he trades for him.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, it's very possible he stays in Phoenix. I just know that it's a cheap owner who, going into the last year of his rookie deal, has said, I'm not giving you a max. And so it made me, kind of raise my eyebrows and say, that's an interesting target. I wish it could happen a year or two later, because I'd like Cade to mature a little bit and know what he is. I'd love to add another lottery pick or two, but it's interesting. It's a piece that I will have a very close eye on. And if there's any way the Pistons could take a swing at that, I'm here for it. We'll wrap it up there. I'd be curious to know. We don't do this as often, but I'd love to know at Brendan Riley _ at Adam R. Stroz if DeAndre Ayton is a guy you would be interested in.